Are you ready to scale and outsource your business?
Okay, let's go.
Welcome to the Outsourcing and Scaling Show. I'm your host, Nathan Hirsch, a show where we talk about everything Amazon, Shopify, e-commerce, and digital marketing. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to Outsourcing and Scaling. Today I have an awesome guest, Scott Voelker. Scott, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Excited to be here.
Excited to have you on. I've been on The Amazing Seller a bunch of times. I'm excited to flip the script and interview you for a change. For those of you that don't know, Scott is the founder and host of the Amazing Seller podcast, which is a top-ranked business show where he helps regular, everyday people start and grow their own online business in e-commerce. Scott is a serial entrepreneur that has helped others build 6- and 7-figure brands online over the past 15 years and has now taught and inspired thousands all over the world through his take action approach, which we will talk about. But before we do that, I want to take a huge step back and know, what was Scott like growing up? Were you a rebel? Were you a straight A student? Did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
I was definitely not a straight A student. I struggled in school, barely to get my C's, and I literally would pass my tests, I would pass my grade or my class because I did my homework. And a lot of people were saying, wait a minute, Scott, you did your homework? And I was like, that's the only thing that allowed me to pass. Because I was not a good test taker. I was a very, very bad test taker. I got all nervous, and I can't really retain a lot of information and like read something and then be tested on it. I get all nervous and stuff. Now, if I'm interested in something, different story. But if I'm learning about like science or biology, I'm gone. I'm like lost. So not a very good student. As far as being a rebel, I was a little bit of a wise guy growing up. I'll be honest with you. I got in trouble a little bit here and there, like most teenagers, but wanted to be a rock star. That's actually was my big thing growing up. Is I played sports. I was pretty good at sports. I did baseball, some basketball, but I did football. But then I fell in love with playing guitar, and then had a band and had long hair and thought I was going to be a heavy metal rock star. So
that's awesome. I was the same way. If I was passionate about something, I was all about it. If it was bio or chem, I could care less.
No, it was terrible. I mean, and again, like math, I love math as far as figuring out money numbers, right? But I don't like talking about like, anything like with, figuring out like the actual metrics of something or the fractions. I'm like, I'm kind of gone. Like, I don't really, I don't want to know that, but I could definitely get into learning money numbers for sure. Counting.
So we're in the same boat there. Did you go to college?
I did not. I did not.
So what did you do after high school?
Yeah, immediately. First off, let me back up. I worked through high school at a restaurant, and I had a pretty good job there. I say pretty good. I mean, I was a pretty regular at the restaurant. They trusted me. I used to close the place, so I had a lot of trust. They trusted me, and I worked myself through through high school, and then I wasn't really. Not that I wasn't interested in college. My father was a farmer. He came from a farming family. They had 9 brothers and sisters, and they were raised to be on the farm. Some of his brothers and sisters only went to 8th grade because once they were available to start working on the farm, they worked on the farm full time. So it wasn't really instilled in me to go to college. So my thing was, get a job, work hard, and have a honest living. Like that's what I was raised as. So as I was working at the restaurant, one of my managers there, her husband worked at a printing press called Quad Graphics, which prints big magazines like People Magazine, Golf Magazine, all of that, or Golf Digest. And she's like, they do apprenticeships there, and you could work towards making like $75,000 a year. Now this is back then. You're going back 25 years ago. So I'm like, okay, cool, sign me up. And so I ended up doing that for about 9 months, hated it. I was in a factory, hated the inside work, and I decided to go back to flipping burgers at the restaurant and then figure out what else I was going to do. So that was like the first step out of high school, but I worked the minute that I got done with high school. I had a job, like a 40-hour job.
So how did that transition into e-commerce? Bridge the gap a little bit there.
Wow, there's a lot of gap there. I didn't know anything about even just the internet, the internet was just starting to happen back then. Never thought I would own a computer. To be honest with you, I told my father I would never own a computer. I said, no, it's a waste of time. I'm not going to do it. So just to kind of bridge the gap a little bit on how I even got into the online space, my wife and I, after I was working construction for my father's company. After I got out of the printing company, I did another job at the cable company. And then my father hired me as a construction worker. And I learned a trade. And I did that for about 7 years. I thought I was going to own his company. We built it into about a $2 million a year business. Back then, that was a lot of money for a brick and mortar. And partnership wasn't good that he had with his partner, and it just kind of fell apart. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I invested all this time in here. What am I going to do? So my wife and I started a photography business, knowing nothing about photography, and built that from scratch, brick and mortar. Learned a lot about business, learned a lot about brick and mortar. And I left my job and did that full time. But then I stumbled on eBay. And when I stumbled on eBay, that's what really did change my outlook or my path, because my wife and I in the photography business, we would purchase these props for children. We would do like a lot of photography for children, like Ann Getty style. And so my wife was looking at these bridges that they were like a little 4-foot cedar bridge that she was looking at them on eBay, but then she's seen them at a local store that were selling for like $30. And we heard people selling stuff on eBay. So she said, I'm going to buy one of these and see if we can sell it. So we listed it and we got bids on it almost immediately. We started selling them for $130. So we made $100 per bridge. And so I remember taking the minivan over to the store, and we loaded it up with all that they had left. We asked if we could order more, and we sold them for probably a good 4 to 5 months, made probably about 20 grand, put our kids through private school with that money. But it really opened my eyes to the online world.
And what year was this?
Oh gosh. My son is 21. My daughter's 23. It was probably, we're going back now 15 years ago, 16 years ago. So early 2000s. And yeah, so that's what opened my eyes to it. Amazon wasn't even really a thing yet. It was books, but that was about all it was. But I was also at this point now learning the online game. And I started to see that, oh, well, if I can sell this, well, maybe I can sell other things. And that's where I started to sell digital items, actually on CD. And actually, I was selling digital templates that I was creating for my customers inside of our photography studio. So I would take those, I'd put them up on eBay, a pack of templates that I would create for customers, but then I would resell them to other photographers, and I'd sell them for 20 to $30 on a CD, or, at the time it was a CD. I was selling those probably, I don't know, $100 a week, $200 a week. And then I started to build a little bit of an audience on YouTube before YouTube was even a thing, really. And I built a little subscriber base, and I did my first digital course, and sold about $12,000 in 3 days following the Jeff Walker, the launch kind of strategy, and changed my world forever. Like understanding like this whole model of, and for me, what I learned was building an audience, serving the audience with useful content, building the know, like, and trust, and then give them what they need and what they want. And then it's pretty much simple. Amazon came in after the fact. We can get to that, but that's kind of the gap. It's a big gap there. There's a lot of ins and outs there, but yeah, that's kind of what I learned going up or getting into the online game.
When did you first hear about Amazon?
Well, probably I heard about it, but I heard people doing retail arbitrage, right? And I didn't know that's what it was called at the time, but they were like, oh, you're selling stuff on eBay. You could sell stuff up on Amazon and they'll actually fulfill it. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. So I started listening to, other people selling and doing like flipping. They would go out and they'd buy something at a discount and then flip it and sell it. And I'm like, oh, I could try that. But you got to remember too, at this point, I had a 6-figure business doing digital items for photography. I was like, and I don't really need this, but I'm an entrepreneur. I kind of want to dabble. So I went into like a Walgreens or something. I started to look at their clearance, and I'm like, I don't know, 10 minutes in, I'm like, this is too much work. Like, I don't want to do this. So I bailed on it. I'm like, it's too much. Like I'm spoiled with digital products. I'm spoiled with, being able to kind of like, have something once and, or create something once and then sell it forever, pretty much. And so then I started hearing about private labeling. That's when my light bulb went on. And I'm like, this is like a digital item, because I can find something that's selling well, and then I can do a better job at marketing it, or just, understanding the system, and then just sell a whole bunch of it and just keep reordering. And that's what I did right out of the gate. Did a little test order of, back then it was 1,000 units for like $5,000. And it was a risky thing, it's like, I don't know if this thing's going to work. And within 90 days, we did over 40K. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. And let me back up real quick. There was another part of the story here. When I was in the photography business, I was also doing this. I was doing film transfers. Because in the photography world, people would come to me in my studio and they'd go, "Do you transfer old 8mm films? Do you do VHS to DVD and stuff?" And I'm like, "Nah, I really don't, but I probably should." So I seen this device that someone had made that would transfer old 8mm film. I'm talking 8mm silent films, and I'm like, "Oh, maybe I'll buy one and turn that into a side business." So I did that, but when I got the actual unit, I'm like, man, this thing is just like a modified projector with a couple of lenses and some mirrors. I could build this thing. So I built that, and I sold about $100,000 worth of those projectors on eBay. So that was another part of it that was like, holy crap, a light bulb. But I couldn't scale that. But then when I did this and I made 40K, or didn't make it, I generated revenue, 40K in like 90 days, I was like, oh my gosh, that was a lot easier than putting together projectors in my basement and selling them. So that was the light bulb moment for Amazon.
So you're doing private label on Amazon, and back in the day when I started having success on Amazon, I almost took the mindset where, oh my God, this is so cool. No one else is doing it. I want to do it by myself as long as possible. I don't want to give other people the information, which looking back wasn't necessarily the right decision, although it all kind of worked out. How did you get into the mindset of, okay, I'm doing it. This is working for me. Now I want to share this with everyone else.
Okay. Well, I come from the, I'm not worried about competition 100% as far as like sharing your information. Number one, I'm a teacher at heart. I've always been someone that's willing to share. I'm always kind of at the party talking about what I'm doing. And I have a crowd around me that's like, you know, what are you doing? I've never heard of that. Like, how is this happening? Like, I don't get it. Like, so, and I get excited about that. So once I got into the photography space and I built that business, and then I built an online business because of my experience, I'm like, well, wait a minute here. I just had some results on Amazon. Why don't I just go ahead and start sharing everything for free and just build a little bit of an audience and see if I can repeat what I did over here? And it's more relevant to what I wanted to kind of get out of the photography game, to be honest with you. And this was a way to kind of do that. And it's funny because I'm kind of at a pivot moment in my life right now because I'm kind of coined as the Amazon guy. Right. And I don't necessarily want to be considered the Amazon guy. I'm the guy that can create businesses online, period. Right. So as I was kind of doing this whole thing, I'm like, I'm just going to go out there. I'm not going to worry about monetizing. I'm not going to worry about, I don't even know what I would sell these people. I have no idea. I don't even know if there's affiliate offers. I don't even know if I would create a course. All I know is if I can help people and they're going to let me know what they want to buy. And then from there, I can see if I can offer it to them, or maybe affiliate offers, but I'm not going to worry about it. And I did 56 podcast episodes before I made one penny from that move in business for me. So in creating a podcast.
It's fascinating. And let's talk business in general, because you've started a bunch of different businesses and you've had success. It seems like you've hit the ground running pretty quick. If someone's listening out there and they want to start a business, whether it's a bakery, an Amazon business, a marketing agency, how have you had that success in that first 90 days, in that first year? What would you tell them?
Well, I would say, number one, now looking back at everything that I've kind of done, even in the brick and mortar space, find out your target market and really focus on who you're serving, and then just go all in on that. See, when I started on Amazon, I kind of fell into the same trap as, let's just find a hot product and let's sell it, right? And then now, like years later, it's not like that. If you launch a product and that's all you're going to do, I can almost guarantee you the next time you reorder your next order, you're going to have 10 other supplier or 10 other competitors coming in with the exact same product. Mm-hmm. So the only way to separate yourself now and to protect yourself, and I call it future proofing, is really going out there and understanding the market you're serving, building a brand that is going to serve that market with products. And yes, you're going to use Amazon as one of the channels to sell your product. Like, that's it. But it always comes down to figuring out the market, what they want, niching down, finding out what they want, what they need. I like to find 3 to 5 products instantly that you could sell that one customer, because that way it's easier to sell to that same customer than it is to go find new customers. We all know that. And then from there, just keep, really focused on serving that market with information, content, helpful, useful stuff, and products.
And how do you go about building an audience? Because I think there's a sense of trust there. People, they see you as reliable, someone who they're going to listen to what you say. They're going to use the vendors you recommend. And it's a lot of responsibility too. How do you go about building that audience and maintaining it and maintaining that level of trust?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, I think it comes down to patience. right? So many people want the quick get rich quick, like what's the next strategy? What's the next hack? How am I going to get more reviews? Like we've never went after like how to get more reviews. Like we just don't think of it that way. We just think of how can we serve that customer better? How can we follow up with them better? So to me, it's about patience. And it's about doing the stuff that other people won't do. I can guarantee right now, if you're listening to this and you are selling on Amazon, you can look at your competitors, go see if they have a website. If they do, it's probably crap. You can probably tell also they don't have much of a social media presence. So all they're doing is they're leveraging Amazon. If you do the extra work outside of that, you can create multiple revenue streams, multiple traffic sources, but it takes time. Right? And to me, it's adding value to the marketplace. And if you add value, it's goodwill and people will know, like, and trust you. And so many people only focus on like 5% of the market that's buying right now on Amazon, right? Amazon is buyers. We love Amazon. But in the same breath, there's 95% of the market that's not ready to buy or that's not there. So why not get in front of those people with helpful, useful content that eventually they're going to say, you know what? That person just showed me how to catch more bass. I'm going to buy their bass fishing lure. Like it just makes common sense, right? I mean, it's pretty much basic stuff. But so many people are like, how do I get my next customer? How do I get my next customer? Instead of focusing on their current customers and how do I deliver more value to the marketplace?
And that's how you see e-commerce kind of shifting now, right? Towards the brand, towards the presence outside of Amazon, still supporting the Amazon business and 100%. Getting a lot of sales, but that whole external factor.
Absolutely. And that's, like I said, if you want to stand out, that's what you do. There's a current brand right now that we're building. We've been building it now for 19 months. We right now have external traffic in the number. I mean, the number is crazy. Over 250,000 impressions per month. Okay. 100,000 unique visitors, an email list of over 30,000 people. Okay. And growing. And now we have additional revenue streams outside of that that's totaling anywhere between, and it depends on the month, between $5,000 and $6,000, basically profit, because it's through ads, it's through affiliate commissions, it's through a book that we have running right now, a digital guide. All of that's external, but it's also bringing in potential buyers that can also feed our Amazon business, which is doing, thousands of dollars per month. So, you know what I mean? Like it is the whole package. But it takes time. And, it doesn't mean it's going to take, 7 years to do. I actually had an attorney that was interviewing me for his podcast because he's getting into this space. And he's like, what do you say to someone that says, but Scott, it seems like a lot of work? I go, well, how long did it take you to get your degree? It took you 6+ years. And you didn't know what you were going to do once you got it. And plus you're in debt for how much, but you were willing to give it 6 years because you thought you were going to have that paycheck at the end. Well, why wouldn't you put 2 years in and build something that could be potentially semi-passive?
Right.
Why? Right?
So are you planning 3 months out, 6 months out, a year out, 2 months out? You're creating this strategy now to grow the brand. How far out are you planning?
Well, that's a great question too. We're always trying to stay a little bit ahead, but we also have to listen to the market because the market is always changing, right? There's always maybe new ideas or new products coming out that we can then create accessories for or anything like that. So we're always listening to the market. But really right now, we've pretty much got it systematized that where we figured out that adding content on a regular basis and then letting our email list know that we have new content, driving traffic, and then letting the search engines and Google help get organic traffic over it constantly feeds itself. So as far as planning, we don't really plan all that far ahead other than we just keep repeating what we're doing, but we're always keeping our eyes and ears open for what we should be creating or what has performed well in the past and then putting another spin on it, right? Instead of reinventing the wheel. But it's a lot of just repeating what you've already done versus trying to find the next shiny object.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. So let's shift gears a little bit. You're on the Outsourcing and Scaling show. Let's talk about the teams that you've built, the people you've hired. You're running a podcast. You got your Amazon business, growing a brand. How have you hired people and structured these teams?
Yeah, well, it's funny. And I met you, and after I met you, I started going through the process of finding, other people that can assist us, not even just as a full-time, but more as like a one-off job maybe. And it's funny because, you and I met at, I believe it was at Seller Labs event, Resonate. Yep. And man, I'll tell you what, a lot of people, even my listeners, they had a lot of great things to say about FreeUp. And I'm like, that's awesome because I'm recommending them. And I haven't used them all that much at that time. I have now since. But a lot of people, even on my inner circle, which is a high level, they're 7-figure businesses, they're using your services. But little plug for you. Good job on building such a great platform and a good marketplace. But the way that we've really done it now, and I'm all about slow and steady and, not trying to grow too big, too fast. But to me, it's always about what do you need right now? Okay. And then finding that person that's either going to find the people or the person that you could just say, let's give them a few projects to try to slowly build out what we don't necessarily want to do or what we're not good at. Right. And that could be like for us, like for me, I'm not a good writer. Right. I'm not good. I wasn't good in school. I'm not a good writer. I'm not good at English. I do write all my own emails, but I don't want to write my show notes. I don't want to write blog posts. I don't want to do that. So I hired someone to do that. Right. So they do that. So now all I have to do is what is kind of my superpower. And I think we all have our superpower is like, I jump on the mic. I can go ahead and ramble. I can talk. I can rant, I can do whatever I want. And then someone takes that and they make it look pretty and they make it so people can understand it and read it. That's that person. So that's really what I've done. So I've done it. I've kind of made it so I can just show up, do what I do best, and then hand it off. And then it gets done. Now that wasn't an overnight thing either. It took me 150 episodes before I started doing transcripts. Which I had to find someone that was good at transcripts. Took me a little while, right? You'd get them, you're like, oh, that's kind of gibberish. That doesn't sound like me, right? They didn't take out the ums or they didn't take out the pauses or whatever, right? So it takes time, but I would just tell people always, look at your current situation in your business. Where do you put time in that you're like, I could probably hire someone to do this. I feel like I want to be in my business all the time. If you can get out of your business will actually grow better for you, and it'll also free you up so you're not having to say like, oh my gosh, tomorrow I got to write show notes. I don't want to write show notes, right? Like, I got to do that, or I got to do a transcript. Like, who wants to sit there and do a transcript? But people that can type 100 words per minute, they're good at it, right? That's their superpower. So I would just say slow and steady. Like, and don't think it has to be like you're going to land one right away. It might take a few. And you guys are really good at that because you guys kind of pre-vet them for us and only give us A players, which is really good.
Right. I love the slow and steady approach. I think some people think I just woke up one day and like hired 50 people. It didn't go like that. You slowly build it up. Talk a little bit about your family. I know at Resonate, your son was there. He looked like he was really involved in the business. Is your wife still involved? And how do you separate that business and personal that I think a lot of people struggle with?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I've got 3 kids. I've got a 23-year-old daughter who will be 24 in July. She's married. They're looking to have kids. That's crazy that I'm going to be a grandfather. Insane. Yeah. I got married when I was young. I'm going to be celebrating my 25th anniversary here coming up. My son's 21. He's going to be 21 and my other daughter's 11. So, that's what I do everything for, Nathan. Like for me, when I started our first business, our brick and mortar business in photography, I did it because I wanted to free up my time so I could be home with my kids and watch them, at that exciting time of their life, like whatever it is. And I was able to coach my son all the way through Little League, all the way up till he was 16U on travel teams. And I coached, and I never would have been able to do that if I didn't make the choice to work for myself and take the chances, take the risks. So for me, it's all about family. Like, yes, I could make more money if I worked more, but I don't want to. Right. So, and I'm not one of these guys that's gonna be like, yeah, I just sold a business for 9 figures and blah, blah, blah. I don't care about that. Like, you know what? That's great. You did that. Like, to me, it's like, can you wake up and do what you want to do in the morning? I can. Right. Can you say, I'm going to block out this day and this day because my daughter has a recital or this? I can do that. Right. But I couldn't do that if I worked for someone else. Right. And I experienced that. So to me, that's what it's all about. And I think my kids, I'm really proud of them all because they all have an entrepreneurial, like they have the blood, right? Like they have, and they've heard it forever. My son, who's big into basketball, he's going to college to be a physical education teacher, but he wants to coach. He's also got a training business on the side, right? So in a little funny story here, I'll share with you and your audience. I said to my son, I go, here's what you got to do. Have these free camps. Have everybody from the area know about you. You're going to put on this free camp. It's outdoors. You're going to get a whole bunch of kids to come in. And then the parents are naturally going to come up to you and they're going to go, hey, do you do any private coaching? And then from there, you can say, yeah, I do. And you can give him a special price. You can build a little email list on the side. So what's he do? He does his first camp. He gets a client. He does another camp. He gets 3 more. Right now, he's got like 10, 11 clients paying him $150 for 6 sessions. He's going to college full time. And he's got an email list of about 50 people, right? But he sends an email out and says, hey, I'm going to be doing a camp over here. Come on over and show up. And then he builds that. So again, it's just I'm showing him that give value, build know, like, and trust, and the money will follow. And that's pretty much simple. And that's what I've been doing, for years. And that's what I'm teaching my kids as well.
So cool. And I love the work-life balance. I mean, even people that don't work for other people, there are tons of entrepreneurs that struggle with that and have family issues or whatever it is because they can't take themselves out of work. So you got the podcast, you've got these businesses, you're obviously a big family guy. And this year you're putting on a conference called Brand Accelerator Live. Talk to us about that and why you're excited about it.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that I never thought I would do, right? I never thought that I'd have a podcast as successful as it is or any of that stuff. And then the event, it was just like one of those things. I'm like, man, like I'm never going to do an event. Like it's a huge responsibility. There's a lot of logistics. It's not a huge moneymaker as people would think. It's actually, I've been told if you break even on your first one, you're doing well. So, but I wanted to be able to serve the audience, but I just didn't want to put all the work in. So I had a buddy of mine, actually a friend of mine now that wasn't, but I met him at Seller Summit, which is Steve Chu's event. And he came up to me and said, Scott, I'm a listener. Have you ever thought about doing an event? And I go, nah, man, it's a lot of work, and I don't want to really get involved in that. And he goes, well, I used to be an event planner. If you want, I'll help you coordinate one. I'll do all the work. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm listening. And I go, why don't you plan out what it would look like? Come back to me with a proposal and let me know, and we'll see. Well, long story short, we're doing an event this September, right? And it's called Brand Accelerator Live. It's going to be a smaller event. It's going to be under 300 people. I'm going to cap it. And it's going to be all about building a brand that's future-proof. And it means optimizing what you currently have running on Amazon. We're not saying don't sell on Amazon. We're saying, yes, sell on Amazon, but protect your brand from not just being dependent on one channel. Diversify. Build that know, like, and trust with your audience. Serve your customers. Go out there and show up in your marketplace with content that helps people. Build that email list. Go on YouTube and build that channel if that's where you want to be, if that's where your audience is hanging out. So it's really focused on that. And the other reason, and I just want to share this, is I had someone come up to me at Seller Labs, or I'm sorry, was it that? It might have been that conference. And they said to me, hey, Scott, I want to go to more events. I love these events. I love the energy. I want to go to another Amazon event. And I go, all right, well, let's time out for a minute. You're at an Amazon event. You've been to another, one over here and one over there. You got to go to a digital marketing event.
Right.
You got to learn digital marketing. Like that's where you're going to have an edge. You don't need any more information about Amazon. You know that. And if you want to come to 1 or 2 a year, perfect. But why do you want to just keep going down that road when you really should be focusing on building a brand? And that comes with email marketing and, social media marketing and all of that stuff. It comes down to understanding marketing. So, and that's where the other idea come in. I'm like, I'm going to create an event that serves both parties. You can help you build your Amazon business, on the side there, and then on the other side, we can go ahead and start building out your brand with the digital marketing side of things. And that's really what I wanted this focus to be. So I'm super excited about it. Yeah, it's Brand Accelerator Live. It's going to be September 18th, 19th, and 20th, I believe it is, if I have my dates correct.
I love it. Guys, definitely check that out. Thanks so much for coming on, Scott. Really appreciate it. How can people find out more about you? I know they can go to the conference. You've got the Amazing Seller podcast. Anything else you want people to check out?
Nah, just go to iTunes or Stitcher, wherever you like to listen to podcasts, and search The Amazing Seller and subscribe and check it out. And you can always go to theamazingseller.com and you can catch me over there.
Awesome, man. And I'll see you at Resonate again this year. I'll probably see you at Seller Summit. And I'm sure I'll see you all over the place. We always do.
Oh, yeah. Awesome, Nathan. I appreciate it, man.
Take it easy. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Did you enjoy this content? If so, click like, leave us a comment, and subscribe to our channel so we can continue bringing you great content all about hiring.